me, we'll get started on how to change a battery just using a couple of tools. So if we count this down, it's 3, 2, 1, let's do this.
Battery replacement? I'm an automotive professional. I think he'll need my help later.
Hi, welcome to my childhood home backyard, home of the well-kept and awesome museum-like yard from my mom. Who's our videographer today? Thumbs up. We're going to talk about some tools that you need to do this battery replacement job. Are you ready? Here we go. Typically, you only need 2 tools to do the job. This is a 3/8 inch socket. I'll tell you where that goes and why we use that. That's the typical thing. For me, in my particular car, when I was doing this video for you, I need to do a crescent wrench, and it's a 1/2 inch wrench added together. I use them together to do that battery replacement. There's a third tool. Had to go get this one. This is a 19 inch socket extension with a 13 millimeter socket put onto it. I created this bad boy, and I'll have to tell you why. So here we go with the video. So what I want to show you first is this yellow post that's over here. It holds the hood up. But the thing about this is it's kind of loose. And if you know, it's very loose. So if you have a friend or somebody coming over, they may accidentally hit this, and you don't want that. It can come out from the hole that it's in. So just be aware this is just to hold the hood up, and it can be knocked free. So I wouldn't let anybody be on this side while you're doing this. Welcome back yet again to the Jeep Patriot, which you've seen video after video after video. In changing your battery, let's first tell you where it's at. It's on the driver's side. The driver's side is where you gotta go first. Come on in. What you're looking at is the driver's side of the engine where the battery is, but the battery has a battery cover. What you're looking at is the battery cover. There's 2 plastic bolts at the very high up here, and they don't need any tools to get out. Sometimes maybe a flathead screwdriver can stick underneath, but they just pop out. Mine are missing. They break all the time, so you may not see them on yours. Once they get old, they just break, so the cover just kind of sits there. To take the cover off, just grab it, lift it, and you pull it outward. Just like that, and see how it just comes off, and then put it aside. Okay, what you're looking at is the top of the battery. On this side is the red side, and this side is the black side. And you can tell because if you lean over, the wires are actually in that color. A lot of terminals are in that color. In this case, it's just the wires are in that color. So here's the red and the black. In my case, and what should be in your case, this is a 3/8 inch bolt right here that you can just put a socket on and start unscrewing it like this. See how easy that is? And then that bolt will come right on out as you unscrew it. Okay, what I did, I loosened the red side. Now we're on the black side, and again, it should be 3/8 on mine. It's not. Previous owner did something, must have lost the bolt and just rigged it by putting another bolt on there. So I have a 1/2 inch old Craftsman tool here, and I'm just going to put it on there, and I'm going to loosen it up. But I have to, if you notice, the other side sometimes turns. It's a square bolt. So I've got a crescent wrench I put in there that can hold it. And now I can just use this tool to loosen it up. So I'm going to loosen this up a little bit. If you notice, I did not take the screws fully off because you don't need them fully off. You need to get them very, very loose though. You may have to use your socket to like just tap them a little bit, see how they move. Because once they got that, you can grab this and just wiggle them up and out of the way. Okay? And then this one here, same way. You want to wiggle it up and out of the way. Now if you see how I got the post out of the way, I put the black one behind the battery and I put the red one over here just to the side of the battery because I wanted to demonstrate our wire brush cleaner. The wire brush cleaner is this one right here. It sits on top of the post just like that, and you literally just turn it. So if you're having battery problems and you think it's a connection issue, you can just clean the post like that, and the wire brush cleans it off. I'll show you on this one. See what it looks like now? Now I'm going to take this wire brush and just spin it, and it cleans it off. And you can spin it as many times as you want to make that thing clean. You got a top wire. If you want to clean the top, you can. But really, These is for the inside of your terminals. This way. Like this. And now your inside of your terminals are now cleaned out. And now it's time for the hidden bolt location and the use of that 19-inch socket wrench. Yeah! All right, we're here at the battery. I'm going to point this socket right where this bolt, hidden bolt is. There it is. Yep, that's a perfect spot. See the bolt down there? It's the hidden bolt, and it's a 13 millimeter, and this is where this goes. I'm going to show you what it looks like once I put it on there. Okay, this is what the socket looks like. I picked 19 inches because when I have less than this or any less than this, you want the socket to turn freely. And when I have anything lower than this, the socket handle tends to hit the frame of the car, components, or anything that's around. But when you're up high, you can turn the hidden bolt, the 13 millimeter hidden bolt. It's lefty-loosey, righty-tighty, and I can turn it freely. And if I want to go all the way around, I can. So I'm going to get this out of here. I'm going to show it to you.
Rather than that thingy he put together, there are better tools to do the job.
This is the bolt that was holding the plastic piece in place that holds the battery from wiggling around. The bolt we were trying to get out, the 13 millimeter bolt, is about 2.5 to 3 inches in length, and it's hard to get out, but that's what we're using our 19-inch socket set to get to. This is it. So you just take it out and put it aside. What you're looking at is a round oval hole. That's where that bolt used to be, and that wiggles loose, and I'm going to put my hand down there and wiggle that loose for you. The next is the removal of the battery, and this is my personal opinion. This is not a professional thing, but my personal opinion. These batteries are not only heavy, but they're awkward. So the battery sits in a little frame, and I like picking it up and putting it onto that frame, if you can see. And now the battery should be tilted. Now I'm going to move around, and I'll show you where you can put your hand to pull it out. Okay, with the battery like this on its lip, the underside now has a place you can cup your hand and put it down underneath, and you can actually lift this side. So you can, with that there and your hand on this side holding the top, you can now tilt the whole entire battery and pull it out. My hand's going to cup underneath that space that I made and grab the top. I'm going to tilt it, finagle it, and it's going to take some work, people, but then you yank it right out. There it is. You got your old battery right on out. The space where your battery goes may look like this underneath, and that's perfectly okay. Especially mine's a 2010. It's going to be dirty down there, but that's where your battery sits. So I'm going to makeshift that I have a new battery, and the new battery is going back in the car. So I'm going to do that. I'm putting the battery back in the car, but you're going to notice it's my same old battery, because it's only a few months old. So you would get your new battery or your replacement battery, and you put it back to where it was in the car. Okay, we got the battery back in place, and the next thing that we're going to do after you put the battery back in place, you're going to push it all the way you can to the rear part of the frame, and then we're going to use that piece that holds it at the bottom. So once you got that piece back in place at the base of the battery, and it only goes in one way, just finagle it around, it'll snap into place, and you're in the right spot. That's when you pull out your bolts that you took out, because you're going to just put it this way, and you're going to drop it back into the hole that you see down there. Just drop it and leave it, because then you screw it down with the 19-inch socket. Ready? And now we're using, and in this case, you saw me just using a socket, traditional, and it's going back in. So I'm going to go ahead and see how I can do full rotations of the socket in this situation. And with the 19 inches, and I know you were asking before, why is it so high? If you notice, I can stabilize the socket with my entire hand because I'm so high, and I can now do entire rotations with this socket set, other than doing like this 4 million times. With 19-inch socket, I can stabilize the entire system and screw that bolt down in its entirety until it gets tight.
Rather than that thingy he put together, there are better tools to do the job. Like this combination ratchet and speed crank. It's got a lever for tightening and loosening, and it pivots up so you can use it as a speed crank.
with the battery back in place and it doesn't move because you put the bolt back in place, there's something I want you to do to protect the battery terminals. And there's something called the battery post no corrode gel. It's very thick, it's red in color, and it can stain. I'm going to put some here, I'm going to put some over here, and it kind of looks like strawberry jam. And just go ahead and wipe it on there. I'm using a towel, I'm not even using my fingers. I'm wiping it on all over. Getting it on there. Now that you have no corrode gel in, there's an item that comes in a box like this called terminal protectors. And they come in two colors, red and black. And they're in the wrong order, red and black, because that's the pad that goes on that side. So I'm going to take the black side and put it with the black terminal, and the red side, put it with the red terminal. All right, with our no corrode gel on there and our battery terminal protectors in the right color on the right side, or correct side, we can now reattach our terminal. There's the black terminal, and on this side is the red terminal. And then we just use the sockets to tighten down the bolts. I'll do that off camera. I'll see you in a second. Okay, with your battery terminals back on the post and the bolts are tightened down, there's something to keep in mind. When you're tightening down the bolts, these may pop up a little bit, so keep an eye on it that as you tighten them down, push those terminals back down into place. And that way they're tightened on top of the protector pads here, and they're all ready to roll nice and tight. While we're here at the battery, right here is a vent. That's where your battery cover is going to stick into. Okay, this is the battery cover. On the inside of it is a rectangle. It matches a rectangle vent that's down here, and when you put the cover back on, the cover in your hand goes inside that hole here. If you have the plastic screws or bolts that tap into place, this is where they go on the left and right. Again, I'm gonna have to order some, but mine broke long ago. So we're all done with the video. I hope you enjoyed it very much. We have Nick here. Thanks, Nick, very much for helping us out and overseeing. By the way, he did see the video and he watched over it all, so it wasn't like I was alone in all this. So was there anything that you saw in there that I could have done better?
Not really. You explained it very well to everybody out there.
There was a screw there on the battery. You were talking about. I called it a 3/8 inch.
Well, usually that one's a 10 millimeter on those, but it had been replaced or something. And
okay, so there's a 10 millimeter on both of those that we're in the ballpark on that. So that's kind of cool. And then the tool. I know you're all going to ask because we flipped by that so quick. It was a special tool. He came in. What'd you call this thing?
I call them a combination ratchet and speed crank.
Speed crank. And we saw how he was using it down there. Now I have a question. Now he's got the big, the thing that I invented there, the 19-inch tool with him here. So does this whole thing go on to the speed crank?
It can. You can take off this ratchet.
Okay, so this was on the end of mine that I invented, and then
and this just goes on the place of it. You can use it to break the.
Okay, so I got that. So the bolts are sometimes super tight on things that you do, any type of car repair, and you have to break loose that initial manufactured because they use power tools.
They'll use power tools
to get things on there.
Somebody was having a bad day and they just over tighten it.
Yeah, so yeah, it's a good call. You can use this also to do that, and of course the speed crank has its handle.
You can tilt it up like that with it on the socket or on the bolt, and then you can turn it like this.
Like that instead of where I was either cranking it halfways or making full turns on this. Really appreciate it. That was a good deal. So everything was in general okie doke for someone who'd never taken a battery out before. They could probably watch this and
that'd be great.
Okay, all right,
they'd be fine.
I really appreciate. So you've been working very long in the automotive professional.
I've got 20 years working on cars.
That's about 400 years in dog years. I don't know. Wow. So you've seen about it all. I know we've talked a little bit about even
pretty
tractors.
Close, but there's more out there.
So not much he hasn't seen. So thanks very much for being with us and looking over the replacement of a car battery. I know that's simple considered. You probably have done everything under the sun. So
yeah,
awesome. All right, just to wrap things up, thanks for being here. We're gonna do one more thing for no reason, just to see what happens. 1, 2, 3. Welcome back to the open land. Got a lot of sun out there. You're gonna see some shade on my face because we're out in the wide open out here. And now that we're done and the battery is back in the car, I got one tip for you. Every time you take those battery terminals off of those battery posts, your clock inside your car is gonna reset back to that blinking 12 o'clock. You're gonna have to reset your clock to whatever time, date and time that it is. Believe it or not, if you had some favorite radio stations, they're gonna stay. So I don't know if there's some memory chip somewhere, but you're just gonna lose your date and time. Thank you for watching the video. Don't forget, it's Vatawc, and you too can be a Vatawcian at Vest and Tie and Walking Cap. Always good to see you. Come on back. Love you. Let's do this again. See you soon.